Let's get it.
Thank you all for being able to join us today for our May OneDrive Office Hours. I'm Sophia, a product marketing manager for OneDrive and SharePoint. And as always, I'm joined here today with Stephen Rice, principal product manager for OneDrive and SharePoint. And for today's special topic, we have Kayla, Jack, and Jonathan from the team covering what's new in OneDrive Sync. So as with all of our office hours, this session will be recorded and available on demand afterwards. Please feel free to use the chat, and we will also have Q&A at the end. So definitely have your questions ready at the end of the session. For our latest resources, in case you missed it, we had a blog post on World Backup Day. So definitely check that out to learn more with the link right here. The team also just posted a new episode of the Sync Up podcast featuring what's new in photos. So give that a listen, and you can also watch on YouTube. So we've got two options ready for you there. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Stephen to take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Sophia. So as Sophia mentioned, we've got a really awesome topic for all of you today on the what's new in OneDrive Sync client experience. We're going to start with the roadmap, then we'll go into that topic, and then we'll leave it to Q&A at the end. So here is the updated OneDrive roadmap for May 2026. There's a lot of amazing work that the team has been doing and is pushing out into the product for all of you. A couple of things that I'll call out that are available now. First up, if you didn't catch our session last month, we talked about the new Markdown viewer that is available in the OneDrive web experience. That is now available for you to start using and enjoying and work with Markdown files. There's some more great improvements coming along on that the team is working on that we're excited for you all to get your hands on. The other thing that's available now that I'll call out is the ability to discover Copilot actions in the file preview experience. So just making it a little bit easier to get to all of the powerful AI experiences that we're integrating into the product. Lots of great stuff that is on its way, kind of coming down the line, looking ahead. One I'll call out for all of you is we're improving the OneDrive home experience and bringing some of our command bar options and functionality there, just to make it easier to interact with the files that you care about most. I'll leave the roadmap up here for another couple of seconds while I keep talking, and then I'm actually going to pass it over to the team to start talking about what's new in the OneDrive Sync experience. So I'll pass it over to Kayla to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. Hello, everyone. I'm Kayla. I am a product manager on the OneDrive Sync team. Today, we're going to cover what's new with OneDrive Sync. It is a bit of a, let's say, abbreviated version. Going to go through a lot of things pretty fast, but definitely let us know if you have any questions or feedback in the chat or at the end. So let's see. I'm going to kick us off by jumping right in. You may have already seen this announcement at the M365 conference last month, but in case you missed it, OneDrive Sync now supports syncing up to 1 million items, and this is in public preview for Windows, and for Mac it's coming soon. We're also evaluating the limits for VDI. So if you do use VDI in your company and you would be willing to share more about your setup, please do drop a message in the chat so we can reach out. So to participate, there are a few requirements. One, you need to have the sync ideal state. This is not a nice to have, it is a requirement. We've covered the sync ideal state in some prior office hours sessions, and it is also available in our docs, but I will spend a few minutes going over a few of those policies in the coming slides. Two, you will need to meet the hardware requirements on the slide, so across OS, RAM, storage, and processor. And three, you will need to opt into the insiders ring and be running version 26068 or above. So we really do want you to try it out and give us feedback. There are some scenarios that we are still currently optimizing, such as libraries with very high photo counts or content that is read-only due to a legal hold. And your feedback is super valuable in helping us prioritize those scenarios. So the Sync Ideal State is a set of recommendations designed to ensure OneDrive Sync delivers the best experience for both admins and end users. We do think of them in sort of like three groups. We have the Sync client setup, backup and monitoring, and performance and access. Some of these policies do require explicit action on your part to enable or configure. So I do recommend checking out the documentation at aka.ms/sync-ideal-state or with the QR code on the right. But I will quickly touch on the key ones specifically as they pertain to the 1 million item limit. Updates and rings. This is how you get your devices in that insider's ring that I mentioned earlier, but it's also just good hygiene to have in general. So the sync client does auto update. So you'll always have the latest fixes and features without any packaging or deployment needed on your end. There are 3 rings. We have insiders and production, which are updated weekly. And then we also have deferred, which updates about every 2 months or so. You can see what's new in each release by going to our release notes, which are also updated weekly. And we recently migrated them to learn.microsoft.com. So again, to make sure that your devices are able to get those updates, you need to make sure that you allow list the 2 URLs on the screen. Without those, you're not going to get any of the updates for fixes or features, or in this case, be able to be part of the 1 million sync limit preview. Another big one is Windows Notification Service. Despite this name, WNS is needed on all platforms, both Windows and Mac, and that's to get your file changes from device to device and cloud as fast as possible. You'll again need to make sure you allow traffic to those 2 URLs that are on the screen, and you need to avoid HTTPS decryption on those endpoints. If this URL can't pass through your proxies, we actually fall back to polling about every 10 minutes to get those changes instead of being notified in real time, which means slower sync, more battery drain, more network usage, and that's definitely not tenable for 1 million items. And then the last one I wanted to call out is folder shortcuts. So folder shortcuts are the preferred way to access collaborative content through OneDrive. We did a session on folder shortcuts last summer. I want to say either June or July. So you can find that session on YouTube as well. Compared to syncing with the sync button, which you may be familiar with, shortcuts are available on all of your devices, and they are more performant because we sync metadata for the changes only for the selected folder, so not the entire library. This reduces network traffic, battery usage, CPU memory. Again, all of these things are really important if you're going to be syncing up to 1 million items. As an aside, we did recently add a couple of new policies related to shortcuts. One is to hard delete the shortcut contents when a shortcut is removed, and another is to auto remove shortcuts when a user's permissions are revoked. So if you do currently use the legacy sync button, we do recommend that you move to shortcuts. And again, for the 1 million sync preview, it is a requirement. One way to do that is we encourage you to start hiding the sync button across your SharePoint libraries using the SPO tenant PowerShell commandlet that I have on that screen there. It will block new syncs from being started, but it won't affect existing ones. So it's a good thing to get started to ease that transition. And with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Jack to talk about some of the updates in the Mac space.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. Get to the right slide. There we go. So I'm going to talk about a couple things that we've talked about already publicly for the Mac, and I'm going to talk about some new stuff as well. So first off, we've already shipped the new Mac Activity Center. Hopefully you've already seen this on your Macs in your environments today. We got a lot of really good feedback about this, and we're still looking for more. So please check it out and let us know what you think. We're also, sort of on this journey to update the rest of the Mac UI to be a more modern, like at-home experience on the Mac. And so to that extent, you'll see new task dialogues, and coming soon to insiders will be a new preferences experience. This looks, a little bit closer to what you see on more modern Mac apps, and we hope that it's, able to, you're able to use it more efficiently. We're also shipping a smarter search experience on the Mac. We talked a little bit about this at M365, but you'll soon see search enabled in Spotlight as well as in Activity Center. Both of these have lexical and semantic rules. We can talk a little bit about some of that later. But the idea here is you search for your content and find it easily wherever you are. And both of these experiences are coming soon. The big one that I want to talk about today, though, is the native sync engine. We teased this a little bit at M365, and we teased it a little bit on our the blog post about this session today, but today I'm going to talk more in depth about it. So in 2022, we shipped a new version of Files on Demand for the Mac based on Apple's file provider platform. And there's a lot of benefits to this. And one of the things that we learned over time was there was some complexity to this architecture that made sync reliability an issue for some users. And so what we've done is we've built a new sync engine that's still based on file provider, but we've removed the backing store. So if you remember from the 2022 version, essentially OneDrive syncs into a hidden cache folder, and then that is what gets replicated to the file provider system. That's no longer a thing with the native sync engine. We sync directly into the database. OneDrive sees that database as its file system. Because this architecture is simplified, we've been able to make this vastly more reliable, and entire classes of errors are now gone. It's also a lot faster because we're doing less work. And so that's a really cool thing, especially on some of the newer Macs where you're getting 15, 16 hours of battery life on an error or something. This uses fewer system resources, so it really plays more at home there. And then it just integrates better with Mac OS. We're using the file provider platform more how it's designed to be used, and so you'll have just an overall better experience. And just to answer the question that I think a lot of people might be having is, do you still have a bunch of copies of stuff in that cache folder? We do have a little database, but you probably can't see this. It's pretty small. This is a OneDrive consumer account with, I think, maybe 10,000 items or something. I pinned them all, and we're only storing about 3 or 4 megs worth of data. So it's this is the new way forward, and we're excited to share this with you. Speaking of which, this is going to start rolling out to insiders in June. We'll do this slowly because we want feedback. We want to make sure that we're getting all the bugs and things ironed out. We will fully transition all supported Macs over the course of the next months as we roll this out to production. This means we will no longer support the old solution once we're fully rolled out here. There's an automatic upgrade that happens in the background when your Mac transitions to this. Most users will not know this. But you'll see if you happen to see a longer sign in, you'll see a progress bar that shows what's happening. You can look to see if you're upgraded to this in the About dialog. That's what this screenshot is. There's a version that appears after the version. If you see the OS version like 26.5.1 or something, then you're on the old thing. If you see something like 26H, 26J, etc., you're on the new thing. The native sync agent is a prerequisite for a million file sync and search, both of which are coming later to the Mac. But just for your knowledge, this is going to be necessary for both of those. And we really want feedback about this. Our intention is to roll this out slowly over the course of the next few months through insiders, gather feedback, fix bugs, sort of make this the best thing that we can. And so your feedback is really valuable. So there's lots of ways to give us feedback. So please do that, and please encourage your users to report feedback through the app if they do it that way. Besides that, I just wanted to recap. There's a couple of great things that we've shipped or are shipping on the Mac. This slide covers some of them. A few of these have been feedback directly from the community. Login item management is one of those things, that you can now use some command line arguments to control the login item that we create to start OneDrive at login. But we've got a lot of other good stuff that's out or coming soon, and so you should see all this land this year. If not, so I think those are all of my slides. So let me hand it back to, I think, Stephen.
So we're going to move into the kind of Q&A portion of our experience today. Let's see. We got a Q&A slide. There we go. So I'm actually going to throw this to Kayla first. So Martin asked a question about kind of shortcuts confusing users by having them not realize the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint. And I know the team's been working on that specific problem. So Kayla, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Martin. I did want to share some work that we're doing in the space to address this feedback. I'm curious if it would help your scenario or if you have other things that you're looking for. So what we're going to be introducing is this concept of a default shortcuts folder. It is a special folder. So if you rename it, if you move things around, it still sort of retains that relationship. So what happens is when a user creates a shortcut, they can choose for it to go to this shortcuts folder. It'll have its own special icon to make it evident that it's different from just a regular old folder. But users can also still choose to, put their shortcuts in the root of my files, which is what happens today. So it is supposed to help with that organization clutter and also indicate that these are shared. And so again, I mentioned if a user decides they want to rename it, when they again create shortcuts, it'll go directly to this special shortcuts folder if they so choose. I'm not sure if that helps address some of the concern or if you have other things that you'd be looking for. And I see a few people have thumbs up to the comment as well.
No, that answers pretty much. Thank you, Kayla.
Okay.
Awesome. Next up, Nikolai.
Hey guys, good to see you. Thanks for this. Just since we're on the shortcuts, I just want to air a grievance because I'm not sure, maybe you guys are working on something, but I have a similar thing like the colleague mentioned, especially now with the OneDrive site archiving. There are a lot of issues people basically en masse live with the belief that when you add a shortcut, like somebody leaves and they just go ahead and add a shortcut to their OneDrives, en masse users think that this basically counts as like copying and moving files. So we have a lot of user confusion on that one. I know already on the interface, you can see you have a column that's owner, when it syncs, you have the name of the owner there as well. But for some reason, this doesn't work as much as we try to educate our users. So I was thinking maybe like little info icon or something that would indicate that this is truly not residing in that specific OneDrive. I know it sounds silly, but it's truly a thing that we've been struggling with, and especially now when the site archiving, is starting to roll out in a lot of tenants, we're seeing people when they thought, that this was already moved. So I'm not sure if there's anything done on that, but that will be really useful. And just one more thing, when people are copying and moving stuff, I know that you did a lot of enhancements on that one, very grateful. But the dialogue, there's still, I think, places to improve that, because when something goes wrong, first of all, you don't see any progress bar when you copy stuff. Or when you move items. If something gets stuck or if something errors out, like even one specific item, this is not in any way shown. So people usually will come to the support or to the administrators to move that stuff. So are there is there any work on that workflow, like copying and moving items? Yeah, and that's it for me.
Yeah, this is great feedback. Thank you for sharing. I guess I had two quick questions. So for the copying and moving, are you doing that in the web or are you doing that in like File Explorer on Windows or?
Our guidance and best practice, and we instruct users to do it in the web because it's the better way, especially when you're working with large data sets, like something like terabytes and more. We just tell them just go on the web. Select it and then copy it. So this way they don't have to worry about their computer being on or, local Windows operations, which usually are very confusing for people. So this is our general guidance to them. If they cannot handle it, we use like a third-party tool to move the data. But in general, we prefer if they self-service.
Got it. Stephen, do you know if we have anyone on the call from the web team who can maybe speak more to that? I'm a little less familiar with the latest improvements in the web space.
Yeah, I'm checking through. I don't see anyone on the website specifically. If you want to send me a note with the feedback or question, I'm also happy to pull folks in after the fact.
Yeah, sure. I can ping you in Teams. Thank you. Because I knew that you guys were just working on that. There were some mentions on that. So thanks.
Yeah. There's a set of questions kind of in the chat around kind of Adobe and OneDrive support. I don't know if it's Mac specific or not. Jack, I see you coming off mute, so I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, I assume some of this is Mac specific. So this is a complicated question because Adobe does some things depending on the app and depending on the setup. So in general, the native sync engine will improve just overall functionality as apps interact with the file system. It's there's some things that apps can do today that can break sync in weird ways, and it should be better. That being said, one of the challenges that we see with Adobe, and I'm not sure this is the question specifically, is people will create Photoshop or InDesign documents that reference other files, and so you might have some Uber file or something, and it references maybe it's a package of a bottle or something, and then there's the picture of the bottle is its own file, and the label on the bottle is its own file, and the background is its own file, and they sort of all get rolled into one. And what we've seen in the past with some versions of the Adobe software is that will break because of they'll write absolute path names into the file as references, and that will tend to break on OneDrive instances. There is, and I'll see if I can dig it up, there is a way to structure your Adobe content so that doesn't happen, and that they write relative paths. I believe that's to put your relatively linked things in a folder called links, but I'll see if I can dig that up. I don't know if I've answered the question, but there's a bunch of different ones about Adobe. Maybe if somebody have something specific about one of the Adobe apps, you can pop off mute and ask. Premiere, I see Premiere Pro and InDesign.
Yep.
Adobe does some lock.
And just for clarity, Jack, you mentioned things should be improving with the native Mac Sync engine. Is that part of the changes that are in the process of rolling out, or is that stuff that's already available for folks?
That's the part of the changes that are going to roll out.
Okay.
So it's so that'll be the rollout, the thing that's rolling out. So
perfect. Yeah. So definitely, as that rolls out, if you start to see any changes or differences, let us know, good or bad. So I know the team's continuing to work on it.
Yeah, definitely. In particular with apps like Adobe or other apps like that, we would love to see feedback as that's rolling out. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the specifics of some of the problems that are being talked about in the chat. That's helpful for us when we can go chat with Adobe and figure out what the best approach is for some of these. So I'll look through the chat, and if there's specific questions I can answer, I'll respond as well. So.
Other questions, or folks for the team, either sync related or across the board? Nikolai.
Just one more thing. Can you guys give an update on the Hero link? I know that you guys talked about it, but I see it's a bit delayed. So I'm just wondering when we can expect that, because we're planning heavily for it.
Yeah, so we just kicked off our first wave of private preview, which is limited to a handful of customers. There is a little bit of code that is in the process of rolling out right now that will unlock our broader rollout and preview. That is expected to finish somewhere around like mid to late June. So if you're interested in getting your hands on it early, reach out to me. We'll have a open preview effectively, like anyone who reaches out can get included early. Otherwise, we'll start our rollout probably to targeted release very late June, early July, and then proceed from there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I really appreciate it if we could jump on board earlier. Thank you.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, it's coming mid-June?
So that's when we will start broader preview. The actual rollout will probably start like early July is what I would expect. And we'll update the roadmap as that date firms up. We're just waiting for the last little bit of code to roll out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool. Let's see. Joseph, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you. This is actually going back a couple of sessions, but regarding file level sync in SharePoint. My understanding was that it was going into preview in March, but I've tried to enable it on my tenant and I cannot seem to. I've got the prerequisites, archiving enabled, pay as you go. I've tried using the PowerShell to enable it and it says it's not a parameter. So I'm just wondering if has it not been rolled out to every tenant yet?
That should... I'll have to double check with Trent. I thought that had fully rolled out. I know they were in the process of pushing though. So if you want to shoot me a note, I can add Trent directly actually, and we can double check and see where the rollout is.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Other folks have questions for the team.
I did put this in the chat already, but can we expect any improvements to the largest files experience? I'm having users actually finding it themselves. They go to their OneDrive, they hit the little link in the lower left for how many files they've got, and it takes them to a largest files page, which shows them a list of files, but they can't really do much with it. It doesn't have common SharePoint functionality like sorting and filtering or even file operations other than delete, which is nice, but it'd be nice to have other things like move, copy, those types of things. So can we expect any improvements to that?
So nothing planned that I'm aware of at the moment, but we'll definitely pass the feedback along to the team. Generally, that experience is kind of designed around helping you kind of reduce the amount of storage that you're using. But the fact that folks are interested in other types of operations is super fascinating and interesting. So yeah, we'll pass along, and if the team prioritizes the changes, you'll see it on the roadmap.
Thank you.
Any other questions that have come through? I'm trying to check the chat. Yeah, Richard.
Just a quick question: if there's any improvement on the zip download pre-check to make sure that it doesn't hit any limits, either number of files or the computed size for that 20 gig limit on a zip download, because we get corrupted zips from that, and there's no pre-check or acknowledgement that there's an error until someone tries to open the zip file.
I'll open up to the team and see if there's anyone on the call who's familiar with it. I don't see anyone on that side. Do you mind sending me a note on this one as well, Richard? And then I'll forward along to folks on the team so we can take a look.
Sure thing.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Question in the chat from Morgan about any changes about the maximum file path length.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to it, and then if Aline is on the call, she can maybe share a little bit more. So I believe at the moment we are not looking to make any changes to the file path length limits themselves, but we do have some work to help alleviate the pain for when those issues do crop up and help users identify how to rename, like which files they should rename or rename in bulk. So I don't know, Aline, if you want to speak a little bit more to some of those improvements.
Yeah, so one change that we rolled out that you might have seen on the roadmap was allowing tenants to customize their OneDrive folder name, which allows for you to maximize your max path limit. And then we do have some UX changes coming up that will improve the error experience after users hit the max path error, and that will allow for way easier error resolution. This is also mentioned in the roadmap. You'll see these changes rolling out in the next few months, so look forward to that. Yes, but as Kayla mentioned, we will not be changing the limits themselves.
Let's see. Other questions from folks? Chris, I just saw you sent a question. Did you want to ask it live as well?
So this is a carry on from the last month's question, but yeah, we're looking to move. Well, we have about 60 users moving from an external organization to our own. Now we can set up provision OneDrive for them in our own organization. At that point, they would have two OneDrive synced. So my question is there a way to stop syncing their old OneDrive, so from their old organization? Is there a way of doing it like at kind of a higher level, rather than individually? So a PowerShell script would be great if it does exist. So it's just a question I do have at the moment, just to try and make things a little bit easier.
And then, Chris, I feel like I remember you chatting with Guy about this previously. I don't know if you had just been discussing it in the office hours chat, or if you had another conversation with her going. But
no, I've an email chain with Guy and Kayla, so I can continue to discuss it there. But I know I just said I'd ask while I was here, because again, my last question was more general. This is we've got most of it figured out, but this is the last obstacle, I'd like to think. So I said I'd ask here while I'm here today.
I want to give an answer about the 60 users. If the 60 users are in the same time zone and you move it in the evening before it happens, that's an easy part. With two, OneDrive, and then you have to move it, not to copy it, and then it will come into the new one each evening, and then you can have two. It depends
Sure.
of how many folders are in there, and folders and
No, I
files.
see. There's a considerable amount, but no, I can put it through anyway. Again, we're only kind of in the early phase of it so far, so I'll propose it, and fingers crossed we'll find a way. Cheers for that, though.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up, Vladislav.
Hello, everybody. Nice to hear you. The question I have in our organization, we have like 27 to 30% of the users having sync issues constantly. Do you have any strategy or automatic resolution for such issues?
Yeah, it's a good question. Do you happen to know, I guess, a few questions. Are you using the sync admin reports to identify which devices have the sync issues that you mentioned?
Yes. Yes.
And I guess, so in the sync admin reports, we do have a way that says what the errors are and like gives you like clusters by top errors. Do you know what those top errors, because some of them we can automatically resolve, but some of them actually do require user intervention. So I'm just curious if you know like the clusters.
Usually it's file duplicates because we or copies of the files that was not successfully saved with a PowerPoint, Excel, etc.
Got it.
They just don't care about it, and OneDrive errors stay forever there. So maybe you know some way how to handle this with users. Just notify them, ask them to manually go to OneDrive and fix it, or you have anything else, like not only reports. Yeah, notifying the user is a lot, as you can imagine.
Got it. So it sounds like it's usually when there's basically conflicts. Is that you're saying, like with the duplicates?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a case where we do need the user to indicate which is the one they want. We can't auto heal or resolve that without assuming they want a certain copy versus another. So definitely get the feedback on how we can like raise that more prominently in the end user experience so that they can more proactively, I guess, go resolve that.
Okay, thank you for this. And also I saw that sometimes by using Cloudflare VPN app, additionally, OneDrive lose connection to network sometimes. Have you got any experience regarding using VPN, another VPN than Microsoft? Because we are thinking to move away from Cloudflare, but it's only ideas right now. And my question will be, will we have better network connectivity on Microsoft VPN solution instead of Cloudflare, let's say?
It's definitely not an area of my expertise. I don't know, Steven, if you know anyone on this call who might be able to speak more to that.
Yeah, not off the top of my head. But if you want to shoot me a quick email, I'm happy to follow up and make sure we try and get an answer for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I think this question might end up being for Jack. Let me scroll back up and find it. There's a question from Graham about OneDrive, I think specifically on Mac supporting the SSO extension and having seamless sign-in across.
I believe the answer is yes. There was some follow-up chat about this, and I can go confirm with our auth folks, but I'm like 99% sure it does. I think the only thing you have to do is enter your email. Other than that, I think it should sign in out of the box if you've got SSO configured correctly. So
there's a follow-up question on sync admin reports. What role is required to access the admin reports?
I am actually just pulling this up right now because I needed to reference the docs myself. So you need global reader, security administrator, office apps administrator, or reports reader access. So I can just drop that in the chat.
Other questions? I know there's lots of chat happening, so I'm trying to follow, but if you've got questions you want to ask verbally or just drop in the chat, feel free.
Hello, Steven. Thank you. I just have a question about the recycle bin in OneDrive via browser, because we had a support ticket that a customer from us wanted to just restore the files in the recycle bin, right? But the files were more than 1,000 files. And the problem was that he could not just select multiple files. He could, but he just have to scroll down all the way down. And this was, he just needed so much time to do it. And I just want to ask if there are any possibilities to make, for example, a function to just select all the files in the recycle bin, maybe.
Liz, I thought I saw
Steven,
that you
I was going to
joined.
say, I just joined the call a second ago. Hey, thank you. This wonderful feedback. Right now, I'm sure, you can select, I just checked 101, but that's only the kind of what we page in at that moment. So I think that's great feedback. Don't have an ETA, but I'll definitely take that back to the team. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
I might ask as well, Coke. I see the ability to hit the empty recycle bin button. Is that something that would meet your needs? Because that would be for all. Sorry, go ahead.
It was just only for one user in this case.
Yeah, let me show you what I mean here. So if you go to the recycle bin on web, at the top left, you will see a button that says empty recycle bin, and I just put a little screenshot in chat. Mm-hmm. And so that would be the way to do the emptying for the full recycle bin. And then, yes, select is for the first about 100 that you see on screen. And so
okay, no. The thing was that we just wanted to restore the files. The problem was the customer had a virtual PC, and the storage was not so much for the OneDrive files to sync via client, right? And he just had sync problems, and therefore we just thought we can just move on all the files to the recycle bin. And then the sync client would work normally, right? Because there are no files. And then we just wanted to restore just, for example, more than 1,000 files, but not every file, right? But it took so much because, you just have to scroll down. And in one case, if you took Control A, then you can just only select 100, 200 files, right? And that was the problem. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you if it's for that specific user not better to right click and free up space on the AVD?
That's true, but that was in this option. It was not possible.
Okay. Okay,
because for virtual,
that will be perfect solution.
Yeah, because that's the problem for virtual PCs. Normally, it's not easy to just make storage bigger, but yeah, that's just a workaround for us. But we also have to think about it. Maybe for other users, they have also virtual PCs. Maybe it's better, yeah, because the storage which was used in his OneDrive for Business was only more than 100 gigabyte, and it was too much for syncing for him.
It's great feedback. Thank you. Next up, Nikolai.
Hey, I just wanted to echo what Cox said. Actually, this is also a big problem for us, and our users are using regular PCs. The problem is, as somebody mentioned earlier, is the pagination, and often, like, users in our tenant have up to 5 terabytes. So, essentially, when somebody deletes or accidentally or on purpose a large folder that contains hundreds and thousands of files, it's really hard to basically sort, narrow, and find the specific item that you need to restore. So people restoring things has actually not been a thing in our tenant. They now know they just open a ticket with us, and I just run a PowerShell PNP script to restore whatever they are looking for. But I think this functionality could be improved very easily. If not for the option, I understand, there might be libraries that are extremely huge, so selecting all, displaying everything on that page might not be an option. However, I think a quick or easy win here will be maybe filtering or the ability to search within that UI, within the recycle bin, so you can actually narrow down what you need to restore. Because often people will just go on and restore pages of items. It will take them hours, and then eventually will come to us, right? And I've also noticed that when it used to work, but I'm not sure if it's just me or anybody here is having this. Now, when you restore a folder, sometimes in the past, it used to restore all of its contents as well. And now when users restore, it just seems to restore the folder object instead of, repopulating it with all the content that was inside. So it just restores the 0 kilobyte folder objects, and then the files are still in the recycle bin. And then when users try to actually find those files or find a subfolder that lived there, and when they try to restore, they will get an error that this item already exists. So it's causing a lot of problems, and they don't really know which item exists, because when you attempt to restore a lot of files, it doesn't actually tell you, hey, like this exists, or it doesn't. The UI is not like in Windows where you have multiple items and you can make decisions. It just tells you this. So I think this could be really, really improved. And thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for the detailed feedback here. This is fantastic. I'm going to call out my answer to Teresa's question. She asked if there were any other office hours hosted by product teams. In addition to the OneDrive, there's also a call that is run by VESA for Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. I want to say it's either every other week or monthly, and there's a lot of great content that comes through there. So I don't have a sign-up link handy, unfortunately, but definitely be sure to check out that one as well. Juliet, I just saw you asked. Thank you for joining, first of all. Chat, I believe, sticks around for a short time after the meeting is over. But if you have other questions or things like that, definitely you can reach out to us on LinkedIn or other socials, or email if you've got specific things you're looking for. Other questions that folks might have? The last call for questions. Any feedback you've got for us on the OneDrive side? We'd love to hear it.
There was a question I pasted in the chat, but I'm just going to say it here since nobody's asking.
Please.
So we have an issue with the unlicensed OneDrive site management. I wouldn't call it an issue. I'm not sure if it's by design, but as you know, the reports there will give you different states of why the site is being unlicensed and why is this situation. One of the scenarios is where there is a previous lock or a state change, and this is where we see a lot of problems in terms of sites being archived earlier, or sites that don't go into read-only automatically before being archived, and this caused some major problems with the executive leadership team, and we had big escalations with you guys about this. So the standard workflow process for the archival sites, as you describe it, and it's working, is on the 60th day after unlicensing, the site will go into read-only mode. And then 30 days after that, the site will become archived. We've seen in situations in these sites in this specific scenario where they don't go into read-only mode and they go immediately into archive, which caused a lot of surprises, because usually read-only mode serves as kind of a signal to people utilizing data on that site that something is going to come up. And this, I'm not sure if this, you guys can answer this here, but I was just, because the description of this state in the documentation is very vague. It just says essentially what it says. Its site has been locked or something previously. But we've seen it with sites that have been unlicensed for a very long time. I know it's a bad practice from the users, but there's no way for us to tell, has the site been locked or an admin? Because all of the other locks, they have specific scenarios in that report. So for me, it appears that all of the sites that get bunched up there is either some kind of error came up or something, and you're just pulling them into that specific, scenario. So I was wondering if there's any clarification that we get on what that means, because obviously I would open ticket, but it's just a lot of these sites are coming up, and I was just wondering if there's any more info that we can get on that specific one.
For that one, if you can shoot me an email with what you're kind of looking for there, I'm going to pull Trent in, who's kind of our expert on all things licensing, archive, and similar, and then go from, we can get you an answer that way. Unfortunately, I don't think Trent was able to join today, but.
All right, great, thank you.
we will wrap things up here then. Thank you all for joining Office Hours. It is, as always, a pleasure to have you all here and giving us the feedback and show you off what we're working on. Office Hours is the third Wednesday of every month, and you can sign up for our next one at aka.ms/OneDrive Office Hours. So thank you all, and looking forward to seeing you all next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good day.